Kia ora tātou. Welcome back to the Wargaming Den. Another game of O Group for you this week. This week's game sees my late war British versus Keith's Germans. This time we're going to be playing the meeting engagement scenario. So as I said, we're playing the meeting engagement. Both of us had 19 points. I went for a British rifle battalion again, this time supported by 2 medium machine guns, seeing how effective they were in the last game. Decided I need some of that. 2 staghounds and 2 Cromwells. Keith, in response, he took a rifle battalion and he's got his medium machine guns again. He took a Panther, so that's got a total of I think it was about 8 points, so a bit dearer than the 2 Cromwells, and also 2 250/9 armoured cars. So we've both got a bit of mobility there. Be interesting to see if the Cromwells can deal with the Panther. Once again, Keith had set up a very nice table. We rolled to see who got which side, and I got down at the bottom of the screen. So this is actually partway through turn 1 by the looks of it. But our forces were deployed about here. So I started off with 4 platoons on table. So I put an infantry platoon there, another one there, a staghound over here. This staghound was actually over here. Its objective was to go and grab that objective. So these yellow dots are where the 3 objectives are. Capturing an objective is the equivalent of your opponent losing a platoon or a unit, so it adds 1 to their checks for FUBARs, and that's probably the main special rule. I've got some bocage down here. These blue dots are where I deployed my 5 combat patrols, so 1 in the bocage here, another one here, 1 over by this platoon, 1 in the wooded area here, or sorry, the fields, and 1 over here. And Keith he got the same dice as me, so he ended up with 5 combat patrols here, 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 and here. I think that's his second HQ, but I'm not completely sure. He also put on a 250/9 armoured car, infantry platoon, and the bad boy, the Panther, was on table on turn 1. There's his other company HQ, and he's got the 2 combat patrols out there. So to keep things simple, my company boundaries was just going to be the river. So looking at the table, I decided before deployment I was going to ignore this objective, and I wanted to concentrate my 2 companies coming up either side of the river to capture this one, and also wanted to capture this farmyard area here. It was my second objective. My initial phase lines for my 3rd company come on was going to be this field here and also this field area over here. So yeah, as I said, I didn't really want to go for that one. I was going to concentrate on the center and on the right flank. Turn 1, it's a meeting engagement, and this nasty Panther lurking there has managed to put 2 shock onto my armor car there, and then it also destroyed the other one. So first blood to the Panther. The Germans are starting to creep forward towards this objective. So we'll move on to turn 2. And just before we do move on to turn 2, that was a very good turn from the Panther. First off, it used a reaction fire to put 2 shock on my staghound over here. It didn't spot it, otherwise I was toast. And the other staghound, in its turn, it moved down here and took a shot and destroyed it with its first shot. So yeah, good shooting from the Panther. When it was up here, I actually got the first turn, and I dropped an artillery barrage on the Panther, hit it several times. I think I got 3 or 4 hits, and the Panther saved them all. I wanted to try and get a bit of shock on it early on, but wasn't to be. But not a bad first turn. We've got a scout moving up here, combat patrol. Another one by the looks of it over here, 1 there as well. Okay, but yeah, let's now move on to turn 2. turn 2, the Germans went first. The Panther shot immediately and killed the Staghound. The machine guns continued their advance and shooting at my poor platoon there. I moved forward this way, and eventually my Cromwells took out that half track, and on the far side the Germans captured that objective, and then I managed to pin them with my mortars, deployed a infantry platoon and managed to kill a stand. So I've currently lost 2 stands plus an objective, so I'm on 3 towards the fubars, and I think Keith's on 1. Even worse than we thought. He's only on 1 dead. On to turn 3. Actually, before we go on to turn 3, I'll try and have a bit of an overview and see in a bit more detail what's going on in this turn. So the German medium machine guns moved into the entrenchments here, and they continued firing at my infantry platoon, got suppressed and killed 2 stands. The Panther advanced and it knocked out the other Staghound, and an infantry platoon deployed over here, and Keith's also sneaking around with some of his combat patrols. Now for me, at the end of my turn, the last thing I brought on was actually my 2 Cromwells, and they shot, well, this one shot at the 250/9 armor car and destroyed it. Over here these guys were suppressed, as we've already seen. My mortars ranged in and immediately suppressed Keith's platoon here. I think he failed 3 saves out of 4 or something ridiculous like that, which meant I really laid on the fire. So these 4 order dice here show that I moved my combat patrol, which was 1 order, and then I used my company HQ to give another order. It actually cost me an extra 2, and deployed a platoon here. They fired, and the other platoon advanced and fired as well. So between them we managed to suppress that platoon that had captured the objective and also killed 1 stand. So I'm quite happy with that. Got some combat patrols here, and that was most of the turn really. So yeah, advantages slightly with Keith on the kill so far, but we're both probing forward. Now the one thing I have done though is you'll notice that that was the objective I wanted to go for originally. There's a Panther here supported by 2 medium machine guns, so there is no way that I'm going to be able to get this objective at this stage. So I've actually decided that I'm going to shift my axis of attack and actually try and capture the 2 outside objectives if I can, but we'll see how that goes on turn 3. And here's just a shot of the German armoured car that got hit by a Cromwell. So at the end of turn 2, the Germans have inflicted 3 casualties to the British 1. Germans have actually inflicted 4. They've killed 2 stands of infantry. They've killed both of the armoured cars. Neither of the armoured cars counts though, because they're reconnaissance units. And he's also Keith's also captured 1 objective. So that gives them a total of 3 points towards my first foobar, and in response I've managed to kill 1 of the infantry sections from the platoon that has captured that objective on the hill. So at present the Germans are slightly ahead. Right, let's have a look at the order dice for turn 3. I forgot to do this the first couple of turns. I got 7 orders, 3 battalion, 4 company, 2 1s were rolled by me, and Keith got 2 6s, so that's 2 battalion orders and 5 irregular orders. So I think I won initiative. Can't quite recall, but I think that's how it went. Turn 3, I managed to kill the infantry that were on that hill, which was worth a couple of points, and I captured this objective, deployed my machine guns to try and take out the German machine guns, managed to kill 1, but reactive fire and Panther fire put suppression and shock on my machine guns in return. So It's pretty closely balanced. I think I've lost 2 versus 4 so far, plus capturing objectives is worth 1 extra. So I think it's the first foobar potentially for Keith, but it's interesting. On to turn 3? 4. Ignore the hand of God, just a bit of an overview of the situation at the end of that turn. So I deployed my Vickers from my combat patrol here. One gun was able to fire, or one team, and I managed to suppress and kill one of the medium machine guns in the dug-in area there. And then these dice show that I actually used a company command order to fire again, trying to finish them off. I captured this objective here, so that gave me another victory point. Also, things went really well over here. Again, combination of mortars and both of these two platoons here managed to destroy that German section, and I captured this objective. No, sorry, I didn't quite capture that objective. I was just short of it, but got the two sections of that platoon. So yeah, that turn went very well for me. My Cromwell's advanced. They're out of range of the Panther. The Panther had fired over here at the end of the turn, and it managed to put 2 suppression and a shock on my Vickers medium machine gun teams over here. But yeah, that very happy with the way that turn went. Let's move on to turn 4. And it's still very close, but managing to kill 3 teams means that I now have a total of 4 points, including capturing the objective. So first foobar taken by Keith, and the Germans didn't manage to kill any of my teams that round. Turn 4 order dice. I got 9 regular orders, company orders, and no battalion orders. And Keith, he's got 8 order dice, and one of them was a 1, so he ended up with 7 orders. And I think I took the initiative on this turn as well. Turn 4 ended up being a very decisive turn. So I started off advancing my platoon here, but reaction fire from the Panther suppressed my unit, and actually I ended up losing 2 stands. I think the Panther fired again in its turn. I did capture the objective here though, which was nice. Over here my machine gun teams continued firing here, and I think they also may have supported over this way. This order dice was actually with my platoon, my combat patrol here that was advancing along the railway line. Over here my Cromwells fired twice, used a second order, and didn't cost any more than that. And with the infantry supporting here, laid down a lot of fire here, killed 2 of the stands in this platoon, and then at the end of the turn Keith tried to rally them. Unfortunately they failed their morale check. I think they were all the dice rolls were under 4, and the survivor ran 14 inches backwards and off the table, so that gave me another destroyed stand, and we also suppressed this unit and killed 1. So I managed to pick up about 5, maybe 6 points in that turn. So yeah, that really swung things nicely in my favour. The Panthers dominating the centre, and my Cromwells are trying to avoid it as much as they can. But Keith also deployed his 3rd company, I think that's company commander back there, and put forward a couple of combat patrols. So if he can get more infantry here, that could change the tide over here quite quickly, I would think. So yes, I got very lucky with that remnant running off the board, and that turn really swung things in my favour. So if I could get the initiative and finish off 2 of his damaged units, the game would be mine. And I didn't actually take a photo or video of the last turn. It was a very quick turn. I got the initiative and I just let rip with everything I could at the machine gun till it failed its saves and died, and also with the infantry section that was left there. So that broke the German company and gave a bit of a comprehensive victory to the British. Well, that was a great game. Really enjoyed that. And not because I finally managed to get my first victory at O Group. Just it was a good fun game. Yeah, it's quite a dynamic game because you can react during the opponent's turn and use some of your orders. It's an I go, you go, but it's not really an I go, you go because you're always interrupting the opponent's turn. The thing that really worked for me in this game was getting my medium machine guns here to offer supporting fire. Having seen how effective Keith's machine guns were in the previous game, decided to take a platoon. And he advanced, turn 1 and 2, he actually advanced his machine guns up into here and almost tore this platoon to pieces. Two of the sections were killed and the survivor managed to eventually withdraw. The Panther, the first 2 turns, took out both of the staghounds of mine. Unfortunately, they don't count for victory points because they're reconnaissance units in this particular game, but the Panther dominated the centre of the table. My Cromwells deployed here in the bocage to be as far away from the Panther as they could, and they were just out of range and they stayed around here, but it meant I was able to use their main guns supporting these infantry to put a lot of firepower on the Germans that were deployed around here, and that worked quite well. Keith grabbing this objective early could have worked out for him. Unfortunately, it didn't, and that's another thing about this game. You go and grab a bit of terrain or an objective and think, right, I'm setting myself up, but suddenly you find that you're exposed and unsupported. I ended up with 2 platoons and the mortars being able to concentrate my fire here, and this platoon ended up being quite isolated. Keith wasn't able to get his reserves in fast enough to be able to take the pressure off, and the Panther, even though it was offering some supporting fire, just wasn't enough there. So it's a good fun dynamic game, and the more I play it, the more I enjoy. Very different to any other game I've played. As I've probably said before, this game played very differently because it was a meeting engagement. We were both moving. It wasn't an attack or defend game. The other thing that worked well though was we gave 1 point towards the break of a battalion for each of the objectives captured. So I ended up giving an additional 2 to Keith. He gave an additional 1 to me when he originally captured that, and that actually, I think, just made the objectives important but not overpowering, and really added to the game. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be having many more opportunities to game in the next wee while. I've never been to Normandy or Europe, but my wife and I are off overseas in a couple of weeks, and we're going to be spending a week biking around the battlefields of Normandy. Kind of one of those bucket list things for me way down here in New Zealand. It's about a 30-hour flight to the UK, and then we're taking out to visiting my wife's family in Wales. We're going to be taking a ferry over to Normandy, and really looking forward to finally, after all these years, being able to explore some of the battlefields of World War II. It's going to be pretty cool. But anyway, enough for today. Hope you enjoyed that. Leave any comments down below if you'd like. But until next time, ka kite anō. Take care, everybody.